It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA and the Gulf of Texas. I mean America.
Buc-ee's.
Florida.
We'll rotate through the states. Today it's the Gulf of Louisiana.
The Gulf of New Mexico.
There you go. I mean, they're not exactly on the Gulf. But yeah.
We are Red Eye Radio. Before we get to the meat and potatoes portion of the show, you know, America's sport is football. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
So we need to celebrate the playoffs this week. And let's give a shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
Let me hear you all say, E-L-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
That's still the audio cut of the week. E-L-G-S. E-S? That's the mayor of Philadelphia who did know how to spell Eagles. Now, she did respond to all the criticism. You want to hear it?
I really would love to, yeah.
She responded to all the criticism.
Okay, she did, yeah.
Yes, here it is, okay.
We don't promise perfection. I'm so happy that I never have, especially after I couldn't spell Eagles right.
Well, there's that. You know, I mean,
I will say that some Republicans took advantage of that by saying, yeah, DEI hire.
Yeah. That was a question. Can she spell DEI? I mean, I have to question that, frankly. Give me an O. Give me a no. That's not it. That's not it. We'll try again later. It's not.
You know, that's worse. That's worse than a rock band getting on stage and they say the wrong city. You know, it's like,
hey, Toronto, how you doing? You're in Austin. You're not even the right country. This is Austin, Texas. All right, we'll be right back. Best crowd ever. Toronto's the best crowd ever. You're in Austin. I know, but Toronto's the best crowd ever.
All right. Smooth transition right into Canada stuff.
All right.
You ready for this?
Sure.
The soon-to-be, as far as we know, new Prime Minister, Pierre Poilievre, in an interview on genders. I usually don't pre-sell something like this, but you're going to love this.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
First day on the job, President Trump signed an executive order, the U.S. government only recognizing two genders, male, female. They're unchangeable. You know, if elected as prime minister, is that something that you're going to kind of walk in line with, or what are your feelings on that executive order?
Well, I don't know. Do you have any other genders that you'd like to name?
Me personally?
Yes.
I'm just asking more so if you're in line with what he is saying. Do you agree with what he's saying? Is that something that you would be lockstep with if elected as prime minister?
Well, I'm not aware of any other genders than men and women. I mean, if you have any other that you want me to consider, you're welcome to tell me right now.
Well, there's personally, I am a man. I am as people who say cis man. There are people there who, they say they're gender neutral. Well. You are a man, yes. There are people there who say they're gender neutral. Yeah, they say they're gender neutral. They're a trans person. Is that something that you would recognize here? Whereas in the States, at least with their U.S. government, the way they're seeing it, there's only two.
I'm only aware of two, but I mean, if you come up with another list, then you're welcome to do that. But I'm aware of two. And as far as I'm concerned, we should have a government that just minds its own damn business and leaves people alone.
Exactly. I love it.
Trolling by asking the question back to them.
Yeah, I'm aware of man and woman. What do you? Well, personally, I'm a man. You are personally. What about in your business life? I mean, what do we?
You should see the video. He's so uncomfortable saying that.
Of course.
Personally, I'm a man.
As he tries to appease. Man, that's a high wire act right there. That's something they would have put on primetime TV years ago. Let's watch this guy walk the high wire. I bet he's going to fail. He's part of the falling Walendas. That's.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that's brutal.
It's going to be so much fun.
It's just brutal.
Oh.
Just brutal. But this is what they try to do. They feel like they've got to jump through hoops. Well, I'm a cis man. Are you?
You're a sissy man?
Are you really?
Are you a girly man?
What does that mean, cis? When I was growing up, cis meant something else. But I mean, exactly what does that mean? Huh? Okay. Well, people say they are.
Who are they?
I adhere
the people
to
that
science.
say they are.
Yeah, I adhere to science, biology. Evidence, facts, truth. People can live however they want to, but we're not going to change the meaning of words here.
Did you hear that the number of encounters the first 2 days, I think it was 766 the second day, and the third day, and this is encounters at the border, was 500. That compared to a high of 10 to 12,000 per day under Biden.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's over. Thank goodness.
It's really fascinating, where we're going here. I mean, I've always been interested in politics, but I haven't been this obsessed about it in a while because this is so unique what's happening.
It really is unique. And by the way, should I point out that just a couple of days, a day or two after Trump froze everything on the border, Mother Nature came in and froze everything on the beach in Texas.
Well, did you see that video? Trump's in office one day and global warming is gone.
Yeah.
That guy sitting there, I think
right.
Louisiana or
Right.
Mississippi, I think he
Right.
was in.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was looking at, I spent a couple of years living at Navarre Beach, Florida, between Fort Walton Beach and Pensacola.
Mm-hmm.
And so 2 days ago in the afternoon is when I saw the now I've experienced lake effect snow. I've never experienced Gulf effect snow.
No, yeah.
But you actually had Gulf effect snow.
Mm-hmm.
The cold air was going over the warm water and dropping the snow on on Texas, the coast of Texas.
That Galveston Beach had snow on it. Yeah.
Ah.
First time since 2004.
Yeah, some Facebook friends in Pensacola were showing me some of the snow they had. It was pretty significant. It was like 9 inches of snow, depending on where you were. I mean, that's solid snow. And I-10 was like, whoa.
Yeah, they shut down parts of I-10.
Look at this, but to be able to look at the live cam at Navarre Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Where they filmed scenes from Jaws 2.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been Frozen Jaws but it was just to see the camera, which is pretty high up in the air, and it's looking at they have a huge long pier at Navarre.
Yeah.
And you can barely see it through all the snow coming down. And then you see the snow mixing in with the white sand. And you and I were looking at the picture yesterday going, all right, what's the snow and what's the sand?
Which part is sand? Which part is snow?
If you've ever been to Pensacola, Navarre, Fort Walton Beach, Destin, Panama City, I believe there's an argument to say it's the whitest sands in the world.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, you cannot believe how white the sand is.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one time around Christmas going from Pensacola and going the barrier island to Navarre Beach, the road. I can't think of the name of the road that goes there. All the sand dunes are there. You can't touch it. You can't pick any plants. Basically, all national seashore.
Yeah, right.
And I remember it was around Christmas time, and I was getting ready to fly back to Buffalo to see my mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're going back, I'm going, wow, look at the beautiful snow. Oh, jeez, those are sand dunes.
Yeah.
It looked like snow.
Yeah, in Texas, on the Texas coast, you can't, I think it's the case on the entire coast, but where we go, down there near Galveston, Brazoria County, you can't walk on the sand dunes. You can't, number one, there's a lot of snakes, but they don't want you doing damage to that, especially because Galveston has a seawall, but over in Brazoria County, they don't have that. It's all, they get in and they make their sand dunes and everything else, so they protect that for good reason. But, yeah. But the widest beaches I've ever seen in Pensacola when we visited my daughter there years ago.
To me, I think you can make the argument the whitest beaches, and it's because of what comes down the river, the crystals from Appalachia. Comes all the way down. I forgot the name of the river that comes down, right to the Gulf Coast, and that's why you have it.
At night, it's beautiful because, the beach basically lights up. You can see.
Like the moon.
Yeah, if there's any moonlight whatsoever.
It is so great that I was there for a couple of years, and I loved it. Now, when I was there, it was only like 2,000 people that lived in, 2,000 to 4,000 people in Navarre and Navarre Beach. Now it's like, 25,000. It's like, but still it's still a small town. But they didn't have the condos. They had the one hotel that was in Jaws 2. But there was nothing but the sands were so white that when I went to Hawaii, I was disappointed. And I remember saying, okay, go to Hawaii for everything else, but don't go there because it's the most beautiful beaches. Because the most beautiful beaches are right there, I think, in northern Florida. And they stay white. They're pretty going all the way down because I've been down to Clearwater and stuff like that, and they're still a lot whiter than other beaches. But, man, on the Emerald Coast, boy, just beautiful. But to see snow there, when I was there, it was the 83, it would have been, it was December 83 into 84 when I had my place on the Intercoastal Waterway, and I had outdoor pipes, and I went on vacation for like 2 weeks. I came back. They were all fixed, but my neighbor called me and said, oh, your pipes burst, but the landlord came in and fixed everything. But my pipes burst at that point. I don't remember whether it snowed, but I would say probably the most snow ever. Yeah. I think it was in Pensacola. I think they said the 8 inches beat whatever the record was before. But, yeah.
Crazy.
So global warming is gone.
For now. Well, thanks to Trump.
Yeah. In one day.
In one day.
Magically.
He's not executive order, by the way. He ended global warming. It was like the first hour, I think. He signed it. It happened. If the liberals are going to go crazy, because they do every time. Remember with Bush, this was Katrina, remember, and it was, well, look, this is all Bush's fault. This is all. Yeah.
Well, the wildfires were automatic. One thing like the wildfires, boom, It's got to be global warming.
Right.
Got to be climate change.
Right. And, of course, we believe if that's true, then you have to blame Gavin Newsom.
Well,
he's in charge of California.
We mentioned the Dartmouth study about 14 months ago that came out that said, because of climate change, snow's going to be a lot less, and you may never see snow in the South again.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't. That's what we're actually responding to right now, because we have never looked at one weather incident and said, that's the evidence, that's the proof. When that happens, we're doing it because we're mocking the left.
Right.
It always does that.
In Freeze-Pocalypse, Del Rio got like 10 or 11 inches of snow. That's a massive amount of snow for Del Rio.
It has been colder the last few years in Texas than when I first got here. The winters have been colder.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we haven't had a few hot summers. Well, every summer is a hot summer.
Well,
it's the degree of hotness.
Yeah, we had our week of deep winter this week, and we're coming out of it tomorrow night or tonight and into this weekend. So I'm ready.
I haven't ridden my bike in like 10 days.
Yeah. Well, we'll be able to get outside more here in a day or two.
86690 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by Howes Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Extreme cold weather has felt in several parts of the country over the past week. Unfortunately, in some cases, felt that way indoors due to power outages. With a refrigerator and/or freezer without power, Meredith Crothers of USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service says some people
try to store food outside, use the outside temperature as almost like they're nature's refrigerator.
And while possible this can be done safely,
we really try and encourage not to use outside as an option for storage of food
due to unpredictability of storage conditions. Variables such as sunlight creating inconsistent and perhaps unsafe temperatures to store food, plus threat of animals and potential bacteria contaminating food items. Carruthers says one thing helpful in saving your food in the middle of a power outage, a general knowledge of how appliances and power outages work. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Oh, man. We found this story coming up following the bottom of the hour. You won't want to miss it.
Yeah.
Trump is this is really going to shake up Washington. This may destroy the White House. Wait to hear the story coming up.
Yeah.
And I had a laugh, so you know there's some of it's tongue-in-cheek, but you will want to hear this story. But first, this one, I mean, I'm not surprised by it. There's a headline, freed Israeli hostages said Hamas used UN facilities to hide them.
Yeah.
Outrage is intensifying after Israeli hostages recently freed from Gaza revealed they were held in UN facilities during their captivity, with critics calling the UNRWA a front for Hamas that must be disbanded immediately. That's what the Biden administration was using to say we need to get aid to the people of Gaza.
It was Hamas. You're giving aid to Hamas.
Yep.
Yeah. It's maddening, which we knew.
The women who endured nearly a year and a half in captivity under the terrorist group Hamas described being detained in United Nations facilities, including tent camps and humanitarian zones administered by the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East. Israel's Channel 13 News reports.
Wow. Yeah, no shock there. Again, over and over again, former President Biden giving aid to Hamas in this way, and also, of course, allowing Iran to build their funds, and that which, of course, that money goes to all of their proxies, including Hamas, and he was the one person at that time that had that ability to change that.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Friday Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I don't know. I do not know if the Trump administration can survive this.
Yeah?
Senior leadership at the White House has started setting expectations.
Really?
And they are a bit more sober than past administrations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading this verbatim from Politico.
Okay.
White House legislative affairs staffers and others in external facing roles, which means you deal with the public, you deal with outside people, you communicating with members of Congress, the media, whatever,
right,
have been strongly discouraged from drinking with members of Congress, according to two people granted anonymity to discuss internal White House decisions. The new guidelines, a departure from past administrations, including Trump's first term, were conveyed to staffers individually and verbally. We strongly urge everyone in the Legislative Affairs Office and everyone who's externally facing to be thoughtful about their alcohol use in public and specifically with members of Congress. We strongly discourage drinking with members. It was not immediately clear how many staffers in total the new guideline would apply to or what prompted the policy. It's a free country, but we represent the White House and the president, and that is best done sober.
So the liberals were right. He is a fascist. What if they drive you to drink? What if the members of Congress, I'm just asking a hypothetical, actually drive you to drink?
They reiterated the White House still expects its staffers to be social, accessible, and responsive, but you must do it soberly.
Mm-hmm.
Is one drink a fireable offense? We'll have to see what happens, they said, in an implicit acknowledgement of the reality that Washington is a town that runs on relationships formed during boozy social functions.
Well, you know, it's how dossiers are made.
Yes.
From what I learned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. If anybody doesn't know it, that's how a significant portion of the dossier was put together.
Right.
Which, you remember Donald Trump and the peace stuff and all that other, that all came from a drinking session with, I think, Iggy Danchenko and others.
Right. Yeah.
Just coming up with, what can we come up with that's just totally ridiculous? We're drinking here. Let's just throw this out.
Right.
Maybe that's why Trump
Right,
said,
exactly.
I don't want it.
Yeah. How about no drinking? Yeah.
A White House spokesperson declined to comment, said the president is a non-drinker whose beverage of choice is a Diet Coke, which him and John Daly with their Diet Coke, which he imbibes freely.
Mm-hmm.
Trump also lost his brother Fred Trump Jr. to alcoholism, a tragedy which Trump says became a driving force behind his first administration's war on the opioid crisis.
Yeah.
No such rule against drinking with members existed under former President Joe Biden, a former Biden official said. Well, so do you think it helped? Do you think it helped? I mean, the delusion and gaslighting of that administration, you do wonder, was it
they didn't find an empty beer in the White House. They found cocaine during Biden's term.
Yeah. Alcohol wasn't the problem.
That's not even the problem. Alcohol? Are you kidding me? That's not a question. Yeah. Yeah, I really look at that and I think to myself, well, for me, especially if I'm working for a president, it would be, I can't get this wrong. I cannot mess this up. I can't have anything say, well, The problem is, I'm sitting down with Schumer. You know, we're eating raw cheeseburgers, and next thing you know, he's pouring a bunch of whiskey. And that's where things went south. I just can't imagine being in a situation like that because, I mean, I don't know who drinks on Capitol Hill and, you know, which members specifically of Congress drink more than others. You know, there's stories that go around. It wouldn't matter. For me, it would be, no, let's sit down and talk about, you know, what it is that the president's agenda requires from you, what he's asking and all those things. I just wouldn't, in my mind, I wouldn't be able to get that wrong.
Well, I think you and I sort of in our careers had the same policy. I've only broken it a couple times, and that is if it's a work function, I don't drink.
Yeah, right.
You know, if I'm going to drink, it's going to be alone with my cat watching a romantic comedy.
Like your DVD of the play Cats.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No, I've mentored a few young people, and they've asked me about business, and I told them one thing to do. Both women. And I told them one thing to do. I said, as you're moving up in management, you're going to find yourself at a lot of parties. And my father actually gave me this advice. He said, you know, don't drink.
You're right.
He said, he said, just, you know, get a soda water.
Yeah.
Put a lime in it.
Yep.
You sit there and drink that.
Yep.
Nobody asks any questions.
Right.
There's no peer pressure. Said, not a good idea.
Right.
And I'll never forget one young woman, and she's followed it all these years, and she moved up very, you know, very great into management, upper management, and she said, yep, I never drink. And she told me the story one time. She said to me, you know, you really gave me good advice because my boss got totally blitzed at the Christmas party and was doing cartwheels in the ballroom.
Yeah.
And so I've always, you and I think, have had that same policy. It's work. It's work. There's no need for it.
Right.
You always want to be as alert as possible. You want your mind to be as clear as possible. And you just don't need to do it. There's no reason. So the policy, I would even be more concerned if I was in the White House and I had people that worked for me in the White House where, good God, the media is going to be looking for any possible leak they can get.
Yep.
The last thing I need is in fact, I would tell my staff, you know, I would say, you know, you need to follow that Gary McNamara. He only gets drunk. He only drinks with this cat. Well, it could be drink or drunk. He only gets drunk with this cat watching romantic comedies at Home Alone.
Right.
No, I would just, I don't think it's a bad rule. I think it's a very good rule.
In fact, I think it's best practice because, you know, I mean, I'd love to see it, but I suspect a great number of leaks happen over a drink or two. And you don't want those leaks. They were very, it was a normal thing during Trump's first term for things to leak. And I don't know if they traced it back to that or not, but best practice is always be sober. You want to have a glass of wine when you get home, that's one thing, but you're not going to do this. This is part of your job. Don't do it on the job.
And the interesting thing is, the only time I've ever had a drink business related was when both were job interviews. And you would think, you can't drink in a job interview, right? It's a job interview.
Yeah.
And the one, both of the radio stations, I can say this now, it's been decades, are affiliates of Red Eye Radio. One, the great...
So they made a series of bad choices.
Exactly. When I interviewed a long, long time ago for the morning show at our great affiliate in Nashville, WTN.
Yeah.
And it was a great interview and everything else. And I think I flew in on a Friday, and then I was flying out like 5 or 6 in the afternoon, and it was in December. And the gentleman, great guy, was a program director at the time. He said, well, we've done everything. We've got hours to kill. Let's go back to my place and we'll watch football.
Mm-hmm.
So we're sitting there. We only go to the airport. He goes, want a beer? And I said, nah, I don't think. No, come on. The interview is over. I said, okay, I'll have a beer.
Right.
And the other time was when I was interviewing at our great affiliate in Portland, Oregon, KXL. And the general manager, we had done 2 days of interviews. It was really over. And he said, I want to take you on my boat on a boat ride down the Columbia River.
Oh, okay.
And he had a cooler of beer. And he said, you got to have a beer. And I said, it's a job interview. He goes, no, this is riding. The interview's over. And so I had a beer with him. And it was just one, though. I mean, it was one.
Yeah, come on, Gary. Don't worry. I'm not going to hire you. So,
Well, they both offered me the job, so it did not affect it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
yeah.
But, yeah, so the only 2 times I ever broke that rule.
Right.
And it was just like, okay. Fun times, though. Fun times.
Yeah. So. Look, I can't imagine. I think right now, if you look at it, you look at Trump's face. He's in serious mode.
He is.
The games mode is over. I think he's always been serious, but I think he's right now, it is boom, boom, boom. And keeping up with his typical work ethic that he's, held for decades, work until midnight, getting back up at 3 and starting all over. That kind of work ethic is going to require everybody to be on point every time.
I think you were the same. We talked about this, but I didn't ask you this specific question. When he walked up to start his inaugural speech and he started in that low voice, did you go, whoa, he's serious?
Well, and did you see his official portrait that came out?
Yes.
Holy cow. It's like, dude, I don't want to meet that guy in the Oval Office. I mean, we mean business.
The only suggestion I would have, if you're ever on a job interview and find yourself in the position that I was in, where the guy who would be your eventual boss offers you a beer, do not say, do you have light beer?
Right. You got any tequila?
I'd rather do shots.
Yeah.
Can we do some shots?
Come on. Who needs a beer? Let's go. That just gets in the way.
Rally shots. We're watching a ball game, right? You want rally shots.
Why not?
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, you got a message from one of our great listeners?
Yeah, Joe, who happens to be a meteorologist, and he writes us, and he says, you might find this interesting that New Orleans, with all this incredible snow, had just finished hosting the annual AMS, American Meteorological Society Conference, where no doubt one of the leading subjects was climate change. They can't win for losing because they always do this in the winter. And, often they'll go to D.C. and it's like, why are you doing it? We always tell them, go to, Savannah,
Atlanta,
Georgia, or Atlanta.
In July.
In July or August, and find an old building with no air conditioning or turn the air conditioning off, and do it then. Make your case then. So, they finally probably, okay, look, we'll do it in the winter, but we're going to do it in the South. Well, how South? Come on, New Orleans. They don't ever get snow. Yeah, that'll be fine. It'll be fine. And then right after it happens, it's record snow.
And let's discuss the Dartmouth paper on climate change that
exactly.
says there may never be snow in the South again.
Right, exactly. It's just great because they talk about it's just the world is heating up, record high temperatures. They leave New Orleans. They're on the plane home Record snow in New Orleans. Love it. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. That's just funny.
We do have the best listeners, do we not?
We do. We absolutely do.
I mean, it's just so
and they get it. Again, it's great to see too when all of us who follow these things every day realize there's more and more people that are now paying attention to what's going on, things that are important, and the role of governments. And you see all of that as Trump, is rounding out his first week. What a different political landscape we are in now versus, just a few short years ago.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.